On the 10th day of October in the year 2025, with the gears of the federal government ground to a halt, a political tempest that had been brewing for months finally broke. As the United States grappled with its 9th day of a government shutdown, the Department of Justice, under the administration of President Donald Trump, announced a stunning development. A federal grand jury had handed down an indictment against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The news landed like a thunderclap in a capital city already paralyzed by partisan gridlock, immediately intensifying the bitter divisions between Democrats and Republicans, raising profound questions about the very nature of justice in an era of extreme political polarization. The indictment itself focused on a matter seemingly far removed from the high-stakes political battles James was known for. It alleged that she had committed mortgage fraud. The charge was not related to her official duties as New York's top prosecutor, but to a personal real estate transaction. The specifics of the indictment against Letitia James centered on a property she purchased in Norfolk, Virginia, back in 2020. According to the Justice Department's court filing, the case revolved around a mortgage application for approximately $109,600. The prosecutors alleged that James had declared on her loan documents that the property would serve as a secondary personal residence for her own use. However, the indictment claimed that this was a false statement, and that she had, in fact, intended to rent the property out to a tenant, which she subsequently did. This act, the government argued, constituted mortgage fraud, a serious federal offense that involves deceiving a financial lender. In the face of these grave allegations, Letitia James mounted an immediate and forceful defense not in a courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. Instead, she took to social media, releasing a video statement that directly addressed the charges and the administration bringing them. She categorically denied any wrongdoing, labeling the indictment as entirely baseless. She described the move by the Trump Justice Department as a grave violation of our constitutional order. As news of the indictment reverberated through Washington, Hakeem Jeffries stepped before the television cameras to deliver a blistering condemnation. He did not couch his language in cautious legalese. He spoke with a raw and urgent anger. He immediately gave the controversy a name: weaponized justice. Jeffries argued this was not an isolated incident, but the latest and most brazen example of a disturbing trend. He accused the Trump administration and its allies of systematically corrupting the Department of Justice, turning it into a political cudgel designed to attack the president's perceived adversaries. Jeffries' argument was not just about the indictment of Letitia James. He placed her case within a broader context, pointing to other recent actions taken by the Justice Department, to the recent indictment of another prominent figure, former FBI Director James Comey. By linking these cases, Jeffries painted a picture of a coordinated campaign, suggesting that anyone who had investigated, criticized, or challenged the president was now a potential target for federal prosecution. He declared that President Trump and his allies were completely and totally out of control and had viciously weaponized the criminal justice system. The case against Letitia James did not emerge in a vacuum. To understand the full weight of Hakeem Jeffries' accusations, one must look at the series of legal actions that preceded it. Just 1 month prior, the same Justice Department had secured an indictment against James Comey, the former FBI director fired by President Trump in 2017. Comey had overseen the initial stages of the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. He pleaded not guilty to 2 felony charges. The charges alleged he had made a false statement during a congressional proceeding, adding another high-profile Trump antagonist to the list of those facing federal prosecution. The Justice Department had also publicly confirmed it had opened investigations into several other prominent critics of the administration. He had openly and repeatedly called for his political enemies to be prosecuted and had publicly pressured his attorneys general to investigate specific individuals. He frequently expressed frustration when the Justice Department did not act on his wishes. The indictments and investigations were not just happening. They were happening after the president had explicitly demanded them, creating the appearance of a direct cause and effect relationship. This pattern created a chilling effect, raising concerns that the legal system was being used to settle political scores rather than to enforce the law impartially. The indictment of Letitia James, coming on the heels of the action against Comey and the announced probes into Bolton and Schiff, was seen by critics as the culmination of this trend. To many observers, this was no longer a pattern. It was a clear and unambiguous strategy of political warfare waged through the courts. While the high-drama political theater of the indictment captivated Washington, the federal government shutdown was inflicting a quiet and growing pain on ordinary Americans across the country. For the 9th consecutive day, essential government services were shuttered and the economic consequences were beginning to bite. The shutdown was the result of a bitter impasse in Congress. Republicans-Democrats remained deadlocked over a funding bill. The primary point of contention was a Republican push to strip away enhanced subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, a move Democrats fiercely opposed, leading to a stalemate. The impact was felt most acutely by those who rely on the federal government for their livelihood and well-being. Federal workers were furloughed, their incomes suddenly cut off. For many, this meant dipping into savings, wondering how to cover mortgages and grocery bills. The shutdown was not an abstract political concept for them. It was a direct and immediate financial crisis. The crisis extended into the nation's healthcare system. Small and rural hospitals faced the terrifying possibility of service cuts or closure. With open enrollment just around the corner, the loss of subsidies threatened to cause premiums to skyrocket, potentially pushing affordable coverage out of reach. Hakeem Jeffries condemned this as political malpractice, and other Democrats said the timing was no accident. Amid this growing hardship, the indictment of Letitia James felt to many like a cruel distraction. While families worried about paychecks and health care, leaders appeared consumed by accusation and retribution. This is political malpractice. The partisan dysfunction fueling the shutdown was on full display in a peculiar and revealing standoff on the floor of the House. At the heart of this dispute was Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva, a Democrat who had recently won a special election to represent a Tucson area district in Arizona. House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican, declined to schedule her swearing in, leaving her and her constituents in political limbo. Grijalva had pledged to sign a discharge petition that would force a vote to release files tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigations. Her signature would reach the required 218. Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego publicly charged Speaker Johnson with intentionally delaying Grijalva's swearing in to stop the petition. They called it a blatant abuse of the Speaker's power, disenfranchising voters to dodge a damaging vote. The convergence of the Letitia James indictment and the protracted government shutdown has pushed the nation into a profound crisis of confidence. The core of the conflict is no longer just about budgets or policy. It is about the fundamental trust that citizens have in their own institutions. On one side, Democrats see a Justice Department used to punish opponents. On the other, Republicans frame actions as accountability and dismiss outrage as political theater. This deep, unbridgeable chasm means the same facts yield opposite conclusions. The path forward is shrouded in uncertainty. Pain will escalate, pressuring Congress to resolve the shutdown, while legal battles proceed in court and the political fallout is decided in public opinion and at the ballot box. Can vital services be restored and paychecks paid? Is the Justice Department an impartial arbiter or a political enforcer? Until these questions are resolved, the fight for the country's trust will dominate the headlines, leaving citizens to wait and wonder who is truly fighting for them.